You will never fail in your life after this. An inspiring monk's tale. In the mist-covered hills of northern India, nestled between ancient deodar trees, stood a modest monastery that had witnessed the passing of centuries. In that peaceful place lived a young monk named Arav. He was not born into a spiritual family, nor did he possess great talent or strength. What he did have, however, was the burning desire to become someone better, someone whole. Arav had joined the monastery at 16, following the death of his parents in a landslide that destroyed their remote mountain village. Alone and searching for purpose, he found solace in the teachings of the monks. Their calmness, their discipline, their ability to live in harmony with nature. It fascinated him. It gave him hope. But hope, as he soon learned, wasn't enough. Every morning, as the temple bell rang and the sun rose over the peaks, Arav would join the other monks for meditation. While they sat in silent stillness for hours, Arav's legs ached. His mind wandered. Memories of his parents, fears of failure, and the pain of being left behind clouded his thoughts. He could barely sit still for more than 10 minutes without fidgeting. When it came time to carry water from the river, his buckets spilled. When they chopped wood, his axe slipped. When they recited sacred verses, his tongue twisted, and the words escaped him. Every failure seemed to scream the same thing: you don't belong here. At night, while the others slept peacefully, Arav would sit under the old banyan tree outside the monastery gates. He would look up at the stars and whisper into the wind, "Why can't I do this? Why do I keep failing?" One evening, as Arav sat in quiet despair, an old voice broke the silence. It was Master Sadanand, the head monk. His beard was long and white, and his robes faded with time, but his eyes sparkled with a light that could pierce through any darkness. "Why do you sit here every night, child?" the master asked. Arav lowered his eyes. "Because I feel like a failure, master. I try and try, but I fall behind everyone else. Maybe I was never meant to be a monk." Master Sadanand said nothing at first. Then he smiled gently. "Come with me tomorrow at dawn. There's something I want to show you." The next morning, long before the other monks awoke, Arav followed the master through the silent forest. They walked for over an hour until they came to a wide, flat rock beside a small stream. Master Sadanand pointed to a deep hole in the center of the stone. "Do you see this?" he asked. Arav nodded. "Yes, but how did it get here?" "Watch," said the master, and he pointed to a single droplet of water falling from a leaf above, hitting the rock and sliding off. "This hole," the master continued, "was carved not by a hammer, not by a chisel, but by water. Drop after drop, day after day, for decades." Arav stared at the hole, stunned. "But water is soft," he said. Master Sadanand placed a hand on Arav's shoulder. "And stone is hard, yet the water prevailed, not because it was strong, but because it never stopped. That, Arav, is what makes a monk. Not perfection, not talent, persistence." Arav's chest tightened with emotion. In that moment, something shifted inside him. The stone was his struggle. The water, his quiet effort. From that day on, Arav stopped comparing himself to others. Instead, he compared himself to who he was yesterday. If he could sit for 10 minutes today, he aimed for 11 tomorrow. If he stumbled on a verse, he repeated it until it stayed. He still dropped water pots. He still slipped in the mud. But each time, he laughed softly and picked himself up. Slowly, the other monks began to notice. Not because Arav was becoming the best, but because he never gave up. His eyes no longer looked lost. His voice no longer trembled. And his heart, it grew calm. He began helping new monks who struggled as he once did. He shared the story of the rock and the water, just as Master Sadanand had shared it with him. Years passed. The seasons changed. Trees aged and bloomed again. When Master Sadanand's time came to pass on, he called the monks together. With a voice both tired and strong, he said, "When I am gone, the one who leads should not be the strongest, nor the smartest. It should be the one who keeps rising, who never stops walking the path." He turned to Arav, now a man with a quiet confidence and a deep compassion. "Arav," he said, "the world needs your spirit. Will you lead?" Arav bowed, tears in his eyes. "I will, Master. I will keep dropping water onto the stone." Months after Arav was named head monk, a young boy arrived at the monastery gate. Barefoot, dusty, and trembling with hunger, he clutched a torn satchel against his chest. Arav welcomed him inside and offered a bowl of rice and warm milk. When the boy had eaten and rested, he looked up and asked, "Master, how do I stop failing at life?" Arav sat beside him, the way Master Sadanand once did. "What do you mean, child?" The boy replied, "I try to study, but I forget everything. I try to be kind, but I get angry. I try to be strong, but I feel weak. I try to be brave, but I'm always afraid." Arav listened patiently, then stood and motioned for the boy to follow. They walked back to the same rock with the hole, the one that had changed Arav's life. "Touch it," Arav said. The boy ran his hand over the smooth hollow. "What made this?" "Water," Arav said. "One drop at a time." The boy looked confused. Arav smiled. "You don't have to win every day. You just have to return to the path. Every moment you choose to keep going, you shape yourself. You may not see it, but change is happening." The boy was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded, slowly, as if something heavy had lifted from his heart. That evening, the monks gathered in the prayer hall. Arav sat at the front but didn't speak at first. He waited. Then he said to the boy, "Tell them what you learned." The boy stood up, shy but determined. He pointed to his chest. "The stone is here, and my efforts are the water. I just have to keep going." The hall fell into reverent silence, then erupted into gentle applause. Arav's eyes glistened. He knew then, Master Sadanand's wisdom lived on, not just through him, but through every heart that refused to give up. Years passed. Under Arav's gentle leadership, the monastery blossomed, not in gold or grandeur, but in spirit. Word spread beyond the mountains of a place where the weary could rest, where the broken could heal, and where the lost could find their way again. Pilgrims came from faraway cities and remote villages. Some carried pain, some carried anger, others carried only questions. Arav met them all with the same quiet presence. He didn't promise answers, only direction. And always, always, he told the story of the water and the stone. One monsoon season, a scholar named Praveen arrived. He had once held a prestigious post in a university, but had lost everything in a scandal. He had read hundreds of books, but found no peace. Sitting before Arav, with a mixture of pride and sorrow in his voice, he said, "I have studied the Vedas. I've taught entire generations. Yet I feel like I know nothing. My mind is sharp, but my soul, empty. Can your monastery really help someone like me?" Arav simply asked, "Have you ever watched rain fall on soil?" The scholar frowned. "Of course, I've studied its impact on agriculture." Arav shook his head gently. "No, I meant, not from your mind, but your heart. Have you ever just watched it fall and listened? How it nourishes quietly, how it softens even the hardest ground, drop by drop." Praveen was silent. For the first time, he had no answer. Arav led him to the old stone once more. "Sit here," he said. "Don't think, just be. Come back tomorrow and the next day, until the question in your heart answers itself." Weeks passed. Praveen returned each morning, sitting by the rock in stillness. He stopped quoting scriptures. He stopped debating the monks. He began sweeping the temple floors without being asked. He started noticing the sound of birds at dawn, the hush of evening wind, the laughter of children at the village well. One day, during the evening prayer, Praveen broke into tears, not out of sorrow, but release. Later that night, he approached Arav. "I finally understand," he said. "The water was never outside. It was inside me. I just never let it fall." Arav smiled. "Now let it keep falling. It will find its way." The legacy of the drop. Many years later, when Arav was old and his beard had turned silver like Master Sadanand's once had, a new boy entered the monastery, barefoot, timid, wide-eyed. He asked, "What must I do to succeed in life?" Arav placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Just stay," he said, "and be like water." That night, under the banyan tree, Arav sat alone, not in despair as he once did, but in gratitude. He looked up at the stars and whispered, "I did not become the strongest monk. I did not become the fastest learner. I only became a drop that never stopped falling." He closed his eyes, and in the hearts of the monks, the pilgrims, the children in the village, his story lived on.